Starting and running a business is hard, but you don't have to do it alone. Whether you're an established business owner or thinking about starting a side hustle to earn extra income, I am here to teach you how to show up as your unfiltered self, level up your business, and thrive as a mompreneur. Let's embrace the chaos and start enjoying the journey together. I'm Amy Traw, and you're listening to the Motivated Mompreneur Podcast. Welcome back into the Motivated Mompreneur Podcast. Today, I am joined by Jenni, and we are talking about the one thing that everyone gets wrong when budgeting for their business. So I cannot wait to dive into this topic. Jenni, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Super excited because business is quite a journey. So this topic is going to be so valuable for our listeners. But before we dive in, can you tell us more about yourself, who you are and what you do?
Yeah. So thank you so much for having me. My name is Jenni Laarman, and I am in Michigan, Midwest, born and raised. I love helping female entrepreneurs learn how to DIY their bookkeeping and understand the numbers in their business to help them build a more profitable business. In grad school, I really thought that I would stay in the world of like public accounting and corporate accounting. I loved it. And when we had our first daughter, I went back to work and hated it. And I was so shocked when that happened because I was like, wait a minute, what? Like, I love this. Why do I now hate it? But I just wanted to be home and I wanted to be running my own business. And so fast forward a little bit to where we were pregnant with our second, and I actually had some pretty unprofessional comments made about when I was having my second in terms of the timing and all of that. And I was like, you know what? Don't make a mom choose between her kids and her job. Like my kids will win every time. So long story short, I left the corporate world. We kept growing our family. We have 4 kiddos, 3 girls and a boy. And yeah, I dove into entrepreneurship and I haven't looked back.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I love hearing other people's stories because, yes, as moms, we just hit that point where it's like, no, I don't have to choose. And I am such a firm believer in that as moms, we are like awesome at running businesses because that's our life. That is literally every single day. We're in negotiations, we're in a leadership role, we're, strategically planning. Like we're doing all of these things. We're wearing all these hats already. So let's embrace it. And I love it because now you don't have to choose. You can be that mom and run a business. And that is beautiful. And I love it, Jenni. So let's dive in to what is this one thing that we're all getting wrong when we're budgeting.
So with budgeting, what I find with when it comes to being an entrepreneur, I find that people are creating budgets that are super restrictive and they are not taking into account the personal side and the business side. So when it comes to budgets, they should be a tool that does not feel restrictive. If it feels restrictive, in my opinion, it's not being used correctly because it's just supposed to be there to know, like have you know where you want your money to go. It's you managing your money instead of your money managing you. And I think when it's restrictive, it feels like your money is managing you because you're not actually doing the things that you want to be doing. So with budgets, it's important as an entrepreneur to look at what you need from a personal standpoint because you have personal bills that need to get paid. And you also need to look at it from a business standpoint because you have your business bills that need to get paid. So the first level of budgeting that I encourage people to look at is what is like your bare minimum? What do you need from a personal standpoint and then a business standpoint to make ends meet? You're not going into debt. You don't have an overflow of money. It's just enough, but you're making ends meet. So that's where you start. And then you add on, okay, personally, what would you like to see? Is that a daily Starbucks run? Is it going out to eat more frequently? Vacations, a new car? It can be anything and everything because it's personal. Like, I feel like there's so many people who are they say, well, you can't have this and you can't have this. And it's like, well, I mean, if you don't want that, that's fine. But if you want to go to Starbucks every day, then go to Starbucks every day. Like,
Exactly. Exactly. Like, why are we not living a little bit too? Like, you're working hard. It's okay to spend some money.
yes. Yep. And I think that when we do operate with such restrictive, not only does that restrictive budget not feel like any fun and it can be really draining, I also find that it's kind of arrogant because we also have absolutely no idea what our life is even going to look like. So to sit around and be like super restrictive, it's I don't think it's serving any purpose other than to be draining.
Exactly. To me, it almost seems like one of those like fad diets. Like you're
Yeah.
setting yourself almost up for failure because you're being so restrictive that eventually you're going to go off the rails. But I
Yes.
love how you said, you're managing your money. You're not letting your money manage you. And I think we
Yeah.
forget that a lot.
Yeah. Yep. And I think too, it's so common to look at it from what can I cut from my budget? What can I cut from my business expenses? What can I cut from my personal expenses? And the reality is, it is usually easier to make an extra 10 grand versus cutting an extra 10 grand. And so, my biggest encouragement is just figure out where you want to make more money. It's out there. So build a budget that makes you happy and it makes you feel vibrant and alive, and then go after what you need to make that a possibility instead of doing the opposite and making yourself feel so restrictive and just drained and icky.
Oh my gosh, I love that because yes, there's always going to be opportunities to make money. You just sometimes have to get a little creative and seek out those opportunities. And for me, like what I'm hearing too is that it's almost you're shifting your mindset to more of the abundance versus a scarcity mindset. Do you feel as
Yeah.
though that plays into this?
Yeah, I think that plays into it immensely. I think you said it great. Yes, because when you are operating from a restrictive place, personally, it just feels very draining. And then from a business point, if you are so restrictive in what you are investing in your business is not going to grow like it could. And it's not going to hit that profit potential that you have because you're being so restrictive and so scared. Instead of like putting a top on that basket, let that basket be open and just let the money flow in and flow out as needed while you're managing it well using a budget as your tool.
Yeah, and I feel like so many times, like people can pick up on it when you're just so desperate for like any client that you can get, any little bit of money that you can get. I feel like people really feel that. But if you're just
Yes.
coming looking at it like a basket, like you just described, I mean, that right there just makes it feel a lot less heavy.
Yeah.
Love
Yep.
it, love it. So there is so much advice out there. There's so many things that, we're constantly seeing on TikTok, on Instagram, all these people that claim to be these numbers gurus but don't have any type of financial backing like yourself and,
Yeah.
training. So what are some of the worst industry advice out there that we should really like, wait a minute, no, no, like I'm seeing this, but it's not true.
Yeah. So, a big thing that I see is when people are talking about expenses. Like people don't mean any harm and they're talking about business expenses and they're spouting off this information and I'm just going, yeah, but that's not correct. Or like you need more information there so they can make a more educated decision on if it's a business expense for their business. I actually have been diving into that on my vlog and have just been loving like going through like busting all those expense myths because there are some out there that people think are genuine business expenses because that's what everyone's saying, and they're not. An example would be I've heard it a lot where people go to coffee shops and they're like, yeah, this is where I'm working for the day. It's my office for the day. And they're like, so this is an expense. And I'm like, were you by yourself? And they're like, yeah, I was by myself. And I'm like, then it's not a business expense. It's not considered like renting office space. Like you can go and work at the coffee shop by all means. It's so much fun, but it's not business expense.
Right, exactly. You're not running the coffee shop.
Right. But so many people are like, oh yeah, I go and grab my morning coffee and bagel and I sit and I work for 4 hours. So that coffee and bagel are a business expense. It's like, nope, nope, it's not. So those are, it's always like, I always, when I see stuff like that, I'm like, oh, that's such a bummer. Like,
Right.
I know they mean well and they're not doing anything, that they're not intending to do anything wrong, but it's just such a bummer that that's kind of floating out there.
Now,
Um,
what is a trusted resource? You said you have a vlog, but what are
yeah.
some other trusted resources that you recommend that people go to for advice on that versus just scrolling through social media?
Yeah, if you are looking for financial advice, there are a lot of good resources. I mean, when you're looking through like the IRS stuff, that's going to be a very good resource, but it's also very difficult to understand and break through it.
Yeah.
So, my best advice is finding someone who has a financial background. There are so many of us out there who have the financial background, and we are giving the most accurate information that we have. Nobody's perfect and the rules change all the time, but we're all just out here trying to do our best. So if they have a financial background, that would be huge in knowing that they are a trusted source. And then I always recommend too, if there's like a local CPA firm specific for the tax side of things, go and interview different firms in your area. Make sure it feels good. Do a gut check for if it's going to be a good mix for you guys to work together. And it's not like they have to do a lot, but it's nice to have someone from a tax perspective as well that you can go and ask questions to.
Oh my gosh, love it. And I always encourage people, like, those are two of the things that you really do need to be outsourcing. You need a good CPA in your corner that understands taxes because, like you said, they are always changing and I cannot navigate any of that stuff. So that is worth every single penny to
Yes.
just link my QuickBooks to my CPA and be like, here you go. Here,
Yep.
take this and make it pretty. I don't know what I'm doing. And then legal too, like just having
Yeah.
a lawyer look over your contracts, make sure what you're doing is legitimate, is going to hold up in a court of law because you want to be proactive and not reactive when it comes to business. You don't want it to take an IRS audit so that you can finally be like, oh wait, I shouldn't be deducting my bagel and coffee every day. Like, no, don't let it get to that point. Seek that expert advice from those who this is what they do. This is their wheelhouse. Stay within your zone of genius because that's where you can thrive. The other stuff, it's okay. Spend the money, outsource it, and it will save you so much time and money on the back end.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah. And I think that's another thing that I hear too is people being told that you run your own business, so you need to outsource your bookkeeping. And in my experience, I 100% believe that most small business owners can handle their own bookkeeping and they can understand their numbers from a business perspective and just partner with that local CPA firm. Have that tax person in your back pocket, let them handle your taxes. And the fact that you've handled your numbers all year will not only save you money because you make their job a lot easier, but it just saves a lot of headaches at tax time too.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And I can't tell you how many times throughout the year I'm consulting her going, okay, is this a deduction? And if it is, like where do I categorize it? Because QuickBooks has this whole list and I don't know where to put it. So,
Yep.
but just asking for help, which is hard to do as a mom, especially. Like we like to think that we can do it all, and we do. We do a great job at it, but it's okay to get help and seek advice and make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed.
Yes, 100%.
And then when we don't know, we reach out to people like Jenni as well. And she educates us. So tell me more about your vlog. What inspired you to start that?
So, yeah, I just wanted to have a space where I could just get information out there, short and sweet. My vlogs are usually 5 minutes or less because I wanted them to be very consumable. And I just, I've been told in the past that I can take these really complicated things and make them simple. And I'm like, you know what? Let's use that gift and give to others who are in business who just need this simplified a little bit because it is a lot and it can get really complex and confusing. but you can also take a step back and make it simple. Like it doesn't have to be hard.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Like we're making things way harder than they have to be. I'm a master overcomplicator. Still trying to recover from that, but
Yeah.
such a great advice. If you can leave us with one last big tip or takeaway, Jenni, what would it be?
To know that your numbers do not have to make you feel like you're crawling through glass. Like it can be simple and it can be easy. And if it feels like you're crawling through glass, you probably just need a system in place that makes you feel more confident and is less complicated.
Oh my gosh, such good advice. Where can we learn more about you and get into your world?
Yes. So you can find me on my website. That is the best place to connect with me, and that is jenniferlaarman.com. My vlog is hosted there, and I have all sorts of resources just out there to help business owners learn how to do their own bookkeeping and how to understand their numbers.
Oh my gosh, understanding your numbers is so crucial. So if you are listening to this, go check out those resources, dive into your numbers. Don't be scared of your numbers. Math is the path that will lead you to make those great decisions. That's where you can see where your opportunities are for growth. Don't be scared of them. Track your
Right.
numbers and let them motivate you, not scare you.
Yes.
Jenni, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your value with our listeners.
Yes. No problem. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And until next time, stop dreaming and start taking messy action. You've got this. Are you loving what you're hearing? Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode.